18 months ago, the Ellen MacArthur Foundation launched the Big Food Redesign Challenge to demonstrate how redesigning products in line with circular economy principles can design a food system that allows nature to thrive. On Thursday, the 30th of January, the culmination of all these successful efforts from growers, producers, designers and retailers, including British supermarket chain Waitrose, was showcased at the renowned Fortnum & Mason department store in London. The next day, we asked Lucy Parker, senior partner and the Sustainable Business Global lead from Brunswick, to lead a conversation, and we invited along the Ellen MacArthur Foundation's new CEO, Jonquil Hackenberg, philanthropist Wendy Schmidt, who's president and co-founder of the Schmidt Family Foundation, and Doug McMaster, creative chef and owner of Silo, the world's first zero-waste restaurant. In this episode, we'll hear how innovative challenges such as the Big Food Redesign work to stimulate business, inform policy, and spark wider system shifts.
I am really excited to talk to the three of you today. Yesterday was the showcase of the Big Food Redesign Challenge, and stuff will be out on the shelves today, and we even have you bringing your stuff to us in this conversation today, so I'm really excited. And Jonquil, you've only recently taken the reins leading the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, and there is the Great Food Redesign Challenge. So what is it? Can you explain it and why it matters?
It's a pretty good way to start my career at Ellen MacArthur Foundation, isn't it? So effectively, we wrote a report around the Big Food Design, how you could design food upstream that's going to then be better for biodiversity, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, better for soil nutrients, and also better for our health and our diet. And so that was the premise of what if we were going to design food upstream.
It's a pretty big premise. It's a great premise.
It's a big premise, right?
Yeah.
And so we launched this challenge 18 months ago, and I wasn't here, but we were collectively quite worried that people wouldn't want to play. We got 400 organisations signing up saying, yes, we want to be part of this. And the Ellen MacArthur Foundation helped design what the criteria were for that challenge. And then what we've ended up with is, through the process, 12 country participation, 57 different organisations and 141 products that are either on the shelves today or in the next few weeks, depending on seasonality. So it's super exciting.
And a huge amount of momentum for first time out of the blocks. It's really an extraordinary achievement. And when you say it's all going to be on the shelves in a minute, these are things that actually shops, supermarkets, restaurants are using. They're going to be real things for consumers and customers to buy. Have I got that right?
That's absolutely right. So what we have in terms of products is anything you're going to consume from breakfast to supper and anything in between, drinks included. So you've got a whole swathe of dietary alternatives that look beautiful and are on 6 supermarket shelves, not only in the UK but also in Brazil as well, which is great.
Fantastic. And Wendy Schmidt, I mean, you've long been a supporter and a funder and a champion of the circular economy, and you've indeed backed this great challenge. Why?
This is a thrilling time to be alive. We have so many opportunities to be part of a transition that I have worked for in our philanthropic work for 2 decades. We know the world is wasteful. We know technologies have despoiled our soil, our water. You can't travel anywhere in the world but be confronted with waste from our food production system and our food packaging system. We know we can change this, and over the years of challenges with Ellen MacArthur Foundation, the new plastics economy, looking at new ways to package food, new materials to use for our distribution of food, there are new companies that have been born in this this space, and they are actually succeeding. And so this challenge came along 18 months ago to actually look at the seed to the supermarket, that entire chain of production, distribution, consumption. How could that be different? Could we reimagine that, please? There are so many people, including Doug here, who have been working on this for decades, and it feels like a breakthrough to me. To be in that room with everybody looking at products last night, it was thrilling.
Yes.
The energy is palpable. I think you would
Yeah,
say
I was
that's
there,
true.
and it really felt like, wow,
great,
the people
wasn't it?
doing these real things and so proud of themselves and each other for
Because
it.
it's real, and the packaging's real, and the responsibility of the producers is real. The investment of Waitrose and Fortnum and Mason is real. These are real companies. So I think it's incredibly exciting. And the role that I play as a philanthropist is to be a catalyst in these movements. There are things the market will do, and we will have investors. But in the very beginning, before the concept is proven, there's a role for philanthropy to come in and say, let's try this.
And
That's
it was
what I do.
very evident last night. And so that catalytic role in there, and Doug McMaster is actually a part of that proof of concept, aren't
Sure.
you? You are founder, chef of Silo, which is the world's first zero-waste restaurant. Can you describe a bit
Sure.
about that journey?
In the most simple terms, it's a restaurant that doesn't have a bin. In a deeper, more philosophical consideration, it's something that is trying to reconnect with the natural world, with nature. So there is no bin in nature. Bins are a human design. It's a part of an industrial system. Bins exist as a symptom of an industrial system, and we've designed waste out of silo. We've designed the bin out of silo, and we creatively. This is a decade old, and for the last decade, just over, we realized that we had to go directly to nature to get whatever it is we need in the restaurant, package free. So we would go predominantly to small organic and regenerative farms because they were the only ones willing to take a chance on us, and then work simply back and forth, up and down this pre-industrial supply chain in where materials such as milk in a stainless steel pail, just going back and down, up and down the supply chain, vegetables in reusable crates. So there's no single-use materials within this simple supply chain. And then as chefs in the kitchen, like Jedi Knights, we would be upcycling and making 99% of all of those precious resources, food and materials, into things that we need. And so at this point, there's no single-use materials, there's no plastic, there's no polystyrene, and therefore there is no need for a bin. And
so all of these things you're saying are about what you actually are doing. Everything you say, you kind of go, oh, wow, of course you could do that. You could do it differently, like Wendy says, there's a way of transforming it. And irresistibly, you've got some bits and pieces that are actually product. Can you explain what these are?
Sure, yeah. Well, I'm a creative guy. My dad was an artist, and I've always looked for positive expressions in life. And an artist said to me, don't have a bin. And that's how this journey started, and credit to him for the Joost Bakker. He's the genius behind all that we do. And then I've just been the madman to make it happen, to innovate at every turn. So you take away the bin and you realize you have to do all of these different innovative things to survive as a commercial. This is a commercial project. This is not an art project. It is, but it is also a commercial project. I had no investor. I had to remortgage my mum's house to start this project. £33,000 is all I started with. And just through sheer imagination, 10 years, 12 years later, still here. So all these products on this table are a product of that innovation, survival, you could say, commercial survival. And part of the entry to the circular food design was 3 products born from a fungus named Koji. So Koji is, as you can see in the green bowl on the table,
So that's
it's microbes. So we're growing microbes on pirate rice. Pirate rice is rice that's come across the ocean on an old wooden pirate ship. So that's a very pre-industrial food system in that we're not having any negative harm on the natural world. It's just the wind and the waves, no CO2 emissions, just the wind and the waves. So the rice comes over to London, and then we're growing microorganisms on rice. Now that is 7,000 years old in ancient China and domesticated 5,000 years ago in Japan. So this is an ancient product. And all I've done as a creative is think, what if that ancient product that makes soy sauce, fish sauce, and miso could convert all of our food waste, all of those scraps and those surplus? What if, when we make cheese on an industrial level, what if we could turn all that wasted whey into this incredible elixir? What if all the waste bread that exists in the world could be turned into our zero soy sauce? What if all the egg whites could be turned into these incredible umami-rich sauces that we're only buying from Japan? We eat so much beautiful umami flavors from Asian supermarkets, and it's all being imported from Japan. What if not only could we not import it from the other side of the world, but what if we could make it locally with waste, with things that would have otherwise been wasted? So that's the power of microorganisms, of Koji, sorry, you were saying?
No, I was only going to say every single thing you're picking up and touching and creating is born of this what if.
Yes.
And one of the things that I always hugely admire about the Ellen MacArthur Foundation is the what if? What if we could actually do the whole thing differently? So it makes me want to come back to you, Jonquil, to say, okay, so you got involved in this challenge, makes a lot of sense, and you can't help but warm to the output from it. But if you looked at why does food need to go circular, why does our food system need to be circular, what's your answer to that?
I mean, there's a few reasons, and Wendy, you pointed to it as well. There's so much waste. There's so much waste in our food systems. That's one area. And as you have demonstrated, Doug, with your solutions, that waste can be put to good use. I think we did a report a while ago that for every $1 on food spent, there's $2 wasted, which is insane, right? That's insane. Just thinking about that in very simple terms. And the second thing is health. So, how can we're putting stuff into our bodies. We don't really think about what we're putting into our bodies, and just looking at the soil nutrients, the way that soil is depleting, and which means that the quality of the food that's coming to us, whether it's snacks or anything else, is getting lower and lower over time, unless we farm organically, which is tricky. But this is really demonstrating the art of the possible, the what ifs, to then think, right, how can we redesign a system, send market signals that then allows us to actually create new products and product lines that will expand.
So the market signals thing is very much what you're talking about from the philanthropic point of view. Be a catalyst, show it's possible.
I think also inside the industrial food system that we're working inside of with all of this, this is not inventing a new parallel system. This is taking a system that's broken in the ways that you described, and many others also. Corporate consolidation is affecting small farmers and small regional suppliers of things. There's lots of pressure, including on public health. So when you get inside that system and you say, what can we do inside its own system to make it better? Each step of the way, that's what I was describing, from the growers to the people packaging, the people distributing, the people buying it, the people disposing of the wrapping or the containers. If you think about each of those steps, you are transforming the system from within, like a Trojan horse. And you're giving these small producers and people upcycling wasted materials that would otherwise just end up in a landfill, going into new food products. You're actually expanding the market for everyone. That's a win-win.
And Doug, you're saying yes when she's saying that. What's in your mind?
The Trojan horse analogy is exactly the analogy we use for growing industrial scale Koji. We're growing industrial scale Koji to tackle industrial scale waste. Ideally, we want to be working with surplus from, say, regenerative farms, like maybe the bread crusts from wild farm flour, because we know that that's coming and supporting our regenerative system at origin. But the Trojan horse is, we've got microorganisms in that Trojan horse, and it's the Koji. It's not the only scalable project within the sort of silo universe, but it is our favorite and most profound, has the most profound potential.
And when you are producing this and people come to the restaurant, what is it that they're responding to? What are they loving about what you're doing that gives you courage that there's more of this to come?
Hope. You come into Silo and you taste things and you see things, and it's just, here's a solution, here's a solution, here's a solution. Oh, and it tastes good. Oh, and it feels good. Oh, and it looks good. This is a sexy restaurant. This is a beautiful menu. This is exciting. I feel alive right now. And that's hope. And that's what we need. I think it can be quite dark these days. And Silo tries to offer that hope within the current food system. And I do think it's an emergence of a new system, within the industrial system, this kind of organic, natural system that's responding and connecting to nature is what we're trying to achieve.
And it's very interesting when you put it like that, the system within the system, and hope, that when you've come into Ellen MacArthur Foundation, it's partly with a hugely expert background in delivering transformations. So when you think, well, what's necessary next, it strikes me we need a lot more of what Doug and others like you are doing. How do we scale? What are the lessons we've learned about how to get to scale?
Well, this is exactly it, because we've got all these amazing products, and of course, we'd love to see them grow and expand as businesses in their own right, because they offer so much. But it's the lessons learned that we can extract at a much higher level. So what are the barriers around policy, for example? Where we've got subsidies for specific ingredients today, how do we shift those subsidies to be for the ingredients of tomorrow or of 7,000 years ago? So that would be one example. The second thing is, how do we also send signals to consumers so that they're encouraged to buy these products? Some really interesting conversations about new business models, about encouraging footfall in supermarkets so that those consumers will choose to buy or be gifted to try these new sources of food. So we're testing what needs to change in policy landscapes, what needs to change in supply chains, because they're so complex with our globalization, and how can we extract those insights and address specific barriers that are common across the board that then allows us to scale at a macro level.
And the step-by-step picture is very, very clear, isn't it? Because you're a demonstrator within your own circular system. But there was on the platform standing beside you yesterday, CEO of Waitrose, going, we want to put these in front of our customers. So it is about a step-by-step sense of momentum. And maybe you could close us off, Wendy, with, given you've been there from the beginning for EMF and you're backing this, and transformation is your theme, do you have faith in the sense that there's momentum growing? Can this happen? And can we go fast enough?
Everybody in the chain, everybody on the regulatory side, the incentive side, the supermarket chains themselves, they're starting to crack. You've seen in your own lifetime over the last maybe decade a huge shift in the food delivery system business around the world. Think of how many people get meals that are prepared for them to take out. I was in Harrods food court the other day. What a transformation in there. Most of what's going on in the food hall is ready to go. People are buying things that are already cut into pieces for them. They're standing in line to get their pasta and sauces, and they're going to go home with their dinner. Many people aren't even cooking anymore. So the system has picked up a signal from people that there are delivery services and people want takeout food. All the supermarket chains have shifted with that demand from the consumer side. The education of people around the possibilities in the food system, getting those products that are beautifully packaged, by the way, that they just look great, into people's baskets and get them home and get people talking about them, tell the stories. We don't hear enough about that, right? It's always oppositional. It's either you're healthy and organic or you're mainstream. We don't need that opposition. What we need are new possibilities for people and products that are at a price point, which they are now, that can be afforded by everyone.
And you come historically from a tech sector. You probably have faith that things can go pretty fast if they choose to go pretty fast, if the signals are there.
The cell phone you all walk around with and that I see everywhere in the world where I go in people's hands was not introduced until 2007. It has changed the way we do everything in a very short time. So I have seen these transformations happen in technology. Look at what's happening with AI right now. The food system can shift, and it doesn't take a great deal of pressure on the big system to shift it because the people at the top are profit-driven. I mean, it's a very simple thing, really. But I also think we are in a lot of interlocking systems that people need to understand, so that when you deplete your topsoil, as you said, you don't get it back. It took 1 million years to create it, and you depend upon it for agriculture. We better think about soil differently. We can't afford to waste it. We come out of a century where it didn't matter very much. Now it really does. And water is the oil of the 21st century. We need to protect fresh water. We need to think about how this is working inside of our system, whether it's the large-scale international supply chains that broke down during the pandemic, or whether it's the regional systems that we can be supporting at the same time and create resilience in our world. That's what nature teaches us. We want resilience, and we don't have it right now. So let's be part of the solution and not the problem.
So if I'm going to ask each of you to leave us with a thought, Jonquil, can you kick us off? What should we be thinking about to go further, faster, as Wendy's been identifying?
Without making it sound some trite platitude, because we really don't have time for platitudes anymore, it's this collaboration of what can we do next. And I know this is slightly long thought, sorry, but what inspired me most about the event last night was not just seeing the products on the shelves, it was the conversation, the palpable excitement from everyone in the room saying, how can I talk to Waitrose to scale this up, to have more consumers and more footfall? Where can we do this in different countries? How can we make this just a norm? That's like, it's this collaboration and showcasing one single thing that people can get excited about and say, right, in my world, what can I do to change the system and who do I need to talk to? That's what we need, is courage.
So, Wendy, when you think about what has to happen next, what gives you the most confidence that this is doable?
The reason I think we're on a path of real change here is because when you talk to people at the top of the biggest companies in food business in the world, you realize that the market signals they're responding to are not as big as you think. A 5 to 10% shift in consumer demand can lead to the entire redesign of the interior of all of the stores, for example. To respond to that demand, these companies want to meet consumers where they are. And
5%? You're really talking about that number could shift a system?
5 to 10% of truly committed people will change any system. That's what research shows us.
Well, as an individual, then, that's quite an encouraging thing, because it makes me think, well, I'd like to be one of that 5%. I'd like to send that signal, but it puts power in the hands of the consumers as well as the big companies,
Absolutely.
as well as the innovators. Is that right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. People are voting with their pocketbooks.
And I think both have just said it comes down to the thing which gives you courage, gives you hope that it's possible. So we have to finish with you. What do we have to hold on to?
Well, it's going to sound maybe a bit lofty, maybe a bit cliche, but if we can reconnect and reimagine our relationship with nature, I think that's where we'll find health. I think that's where the bin will become obsolete. And I think that's where we will find true sustainability.
Thank you. Thank you all. Very encouraging to hear you speak, and surely an inspiration for the hope that you've put on the table for us today. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, we have hope. We need collaboration. We need courage. And just 5 to 10% of truly committed people can change any system. Thanks so much for listening, and thank you to Lucy, Jonquil, Wendy and Doug. To find out more about the Big Food Redesign Challenge, simply go to the show notes, or you can watch our participants' vlogging series on the Ellen MacArthur Foundation's YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this episode of the Circular Economy Show, please share with your colleagues and friends, and don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts.